So I got the 2019 16-inch MacBook Pro in 2020, and here's an overview of all my thoughts. So the 16-inch MacBook Pro has been out for a little over 6 months now and has since emerged as one of the best laptops to buy for content creators. But we've seen some other pretty impressive laptops out in 2020, including the Dell XPS 15 and 17, as well as the Razer Blade 15. So plenty of incredible options to choose from. But does Apple's most premier laptop still have what it takes to claim that title in 2020? Well, to find out, let's take a look at some of the main features first. Now, I love the design of this machine. The Magic Keyboard, as we've talked about numerous times in the past, is a huge improvement with that millimeter key travel, and I've just noticed less mistakes when I type on it. I also love that they have a dedicated escape key now, which is pretty much a standard across their entire Pro lineup. The Touch ID sensor works seamlessly, and the inverted T layout of the keyboard is a welcome change, although this is purely a matter of personal preference, but I kind of love that they're shaped this way as opposed to the larger side arrow keys. The trackpad is massive and features the usual intuitive gestures we're used to, but this was quite the change for me coming from a much smaller 13-inch MacBook. In terms of I/O, the laptop comes with 4 USB-C ports with 2 on either side, which I guess is the only real downside for me given that I have to use a dongle more often than not. But it makes sense given Apple's vision with their entire design aesthetic and the eventual universal adoption of USB-C. The laptop is 16.2 millimeters thick, which is slightly thicker than the previous edition thanks to that larger battery as well as larger fans, and this translates to better performance, so I'm all for it. And the laptop weighs in at about 4.4 pounds, which again is slightly heavier than the last edition, but really isn't too noticeable at all. The display is absolutely gorgeous and features an LED backlit panel at a native resolution of 3072 by 1920 with 500 nits of brightness and considerably thinner bezels. And it's pretty much perfect for photo and video editors alike. While the mini LED display looks like quite a fascinating option down the line when Apple decides to refresh this machine, I am more than happy with the quality of this display currently. The battery life on this machine is quite impressive, going up to 11 hours on a full charge if you're merely web browsing, but this can vary depending on what kind of tasks you're doing, including video editing, where in most cases it's better to just keep your laptop plugged in. And the laptop comes in with a 100 watt hour battery. That's the largest you can carry on US domestic flights, which is always handy. The other thing I love about this laptop are the speakers. They're just incredible. I'm yet to come across another laptop that has sound as loud, crisp, and punchy as that of the 16-inch MacBook Pro. And here's a little demo of what they sound like. Now, a lot of people are factoring in webcam quality when buying laptops at this time of the year, given the emphasis on overall work from home setups. And Apple unfortunately still decided to opt for the usual 720p webcam, but this makes sense given how thin the top edge of the laptop is. But I'm just hoping they'll fix this in the near future with a slightly better camera, at least 1080p. So this is the 720p camera that comes with the MacBook Pro 16. Not amazing. We're still stuck with that relatively low resolution, but the microphone sounds amazing actually for a laptop of this class. I'm very impressed with the quality of the sound. If only Apple could have matched that audio quality with the webcam quality as well. But yep, we're still stuck with 720p. No changes on that front, but Let's hope that Apple does something about this in the next iteration. Now, performance on this machine is superb, which it should be, given its price point, and the target market. My laptop configuration features the Intel i9-9880H clocked in at 2.3 GHz, 32 gigs of DDR4 memory, as well as the Radeon 5500M graphics with 8 gigs of VRAM. So this machine is definitely power-packed. I was able to export a 4K Final Cut Pro project that was just under 9 minutes long in about 3.5 minutes without any major thermal throttling issues, and the CPU temperature was kept relatively cool as well. So the entire metal integration with the MacBook Pro's dedicated AMD graphics card definitely saw a noticeable boost in performance. If you're going to be using Apple's suite of pro editing software, you won't be disappointed given that it's brilliantly optimized and it's only going to get better. For those of you interested in benchmarks, here were my scores in some of the key tests, as well as how they compare with other laptops of this class in the market. Now, while the MacBook Pro 16-inch isn't a gaming laptop by any means, you do have the option of setting up Windows 10 on Boot Camp and playing some of your favorite titles quite well on maxed out settings, as long as they're played on 1080p. And this is all thanks to that dedicated graphics card. Games like Valorant were giving me well over 90 frames per second on the laptop's native 3072 by 1920 resolution, while titles like Apex Legends and GTA 5 were cranking out around 60 frames per second when played on 1080p on high settings. So this laptop is more than capable of some light gaming, although you really shouldn't be getting a Mac if your gaming is your primary use case. Now, if you're curious about how you'd want to upgrade the specs of the machine, I'd definitely upgrade the graphics if your primary use case is video editing, followed by the memory. The base i7 model would handle most tasks extremely well, and I'm glad they were able to pack in 512 gigabytes in that configuration. So if you're someone who's considering a 13-inch MacBook Pro and see yourself maxing out the specs on that configuration, I would actually look at the 2400 base 16-inch model instead. That's going to give you considerably better performance, unless you're someone who absolutely needs something a lot more portable. Who is the 16-inch MacBook Pro really catered towards, though? I definitely say it's more for people who are looking at this laptop as a potential desktop replacement and want to be able to pack as much power in their backpacks wherever they go. If you already own a desktop or workstation that handles your more intensive tasks, I really feel like you're better off opting for the MacBook Air or the MacBook Pro 13-inch. However, if you're looking to purchase a content creation laptop that will serve as your main sort of workstation, and you constantly see yourself using the Pro suite of Apple applications like Final Cut Pro, or just prefer Mac OS over Windows, I feel like this is the perfect machine for you. But this begs the other question. Should you wait for a newer refresh of the 16-inch MacBook Pro, or are you better off just getting this model right now? I actually don't expect a refresh of the 16-inch MacBook Pro anytime soon. I'm actually predicting a new model releasing sometime next year, but if Apple does decide to go for another simple spec refresh like they did with the 13-inch MacBook Pro, expect an upgrade to Intel's 10th gen chipset, as well as new AMD graphics. So again, very minor incremental changes. What I'd really like to see is the inclusion of a mini LED display, a better webcam, and maybe a couple of additional USB-C ports on either side, just because it is a Pro laptop, and the more ports and I/O options, the better. I've left affiliate links to both the base 16-inch model, which actually is on sale in Amazon right now at the time of this video, as well as the USB-C dongle or USB-C hub I used that was featured in this video. So you can go ahead and check out those two links down in the description box. But that's it for me. Let me know if you guys are actually going to end up buying this laptop, as well as your other thoughts down in the comment section. But thank you so much for watching. Consider subscribing if you're new to the channel, and I'll catch you guys in the next video. Cheers.